Hello again, St. Lucia. Welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. My name is Philip Sidney, your host. Today we are discussing World Wildlife Day. Of course, it was held on the 3rd of this month, so you'll hear all about it with my guest today, Mr. Pius Haynes, who is the Assistant Chief Forest Officer attached to the Ministry of Agriculture. Pius, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sidney.
Great. Today we're talking and we're lecturing to the public about wildlife. What is the significance of that day?
Okay, so World Wildlife Day is celebrated each year on March 3rd. Now, this was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly on December 20th, 2013. So, really and truly, this is an observance that is held globally, and the primary objective of this day really is to raise awareness, is to educate the public, is to help enable persons to appreciate and to, take notice of the wildlife that exists amongst us, and also to let them understand the great value, the great intrinsic value that they have, in all the intricate webs of life and in our very lives and our livelihoods. So the manner in which wildlife has been treated on a global scale is done in most cases sometimes in an unsustainable manner. And so the need, in fact the UN saw the need to declare that day more or less as a global day to raise awareness, and a global day to just learn about wildlife, appreciate wildlife, and to tell persons of the importance that wildlife has in our landscape.
Yeah. Great. Of course, every year there's a theme. What's the theme for this year?
Yeah, so this year we celebrated World Wildlife Day under the theme Wildlife Conservation Finance, Invested in People and Planet. So one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest constraints that we face, especially as a small island developing state, especially as a developing country, is that of finance. And we find that we are always limited, we are always constrained in achieving our national biodiversity targets, more or less because of lack of finance. And so the UN saw it necessary for us to prioritize, the mobilization of funding towards wildlife conservation and towards wildlife projects. And so there are new initiatives that are coming through, new ways and means of diverting funds into wildlife conservation, so that we could help save wildlife on our planet, because it is amazing that we lose wildlife at an alarming rate on a global level. And wildlife is important in almost every sphere of our lives. Okay, we depend on wildlife for a number of different important things, such as, for example, we depend on wildlife for food. We also depend on our wildlife for medicine, for clothing. Wildlife generally forms a big part of the GDP of a number of countries, and so the importance that wildlife play, in sustaining our ecosystems, in regulating our natural processes, in helping to sustain biodiversity in itself, and also to help, provide ecosystem services that really underpins, the very lives and livelihoods that we depend on. So wildlife do play an important part of our entire existence, and without wildlife, it would be it would be impossible to live on Earth without wildlife, because when we speak of wildlife now, we are referring both to flora and fauna, or plant and animal life. Okay. So wild plants and wild animals are referred to as wildlife.
Okay, let us be specific to St. Lucia. What are the wild animals that we have that are important to our biodiversity and its impact on humans?
Yes, so I can tell you very proudly that St. Lucia, although we are a small nation, only 238 square miles, Nevertheless, St. Lucia is blessed with a high diversity of plant and animal life. As a matter of fact, within the islands of the Eastern Caribbean, St. Lucia has one of the highest levels of endemic plants and animals. For example, I can tell you that when it comes to our birds, we have 132 indigenous bird species, and out of these bird species, 7 are endemic to St. Lucia. And by endemic, we mean that these are bird species that exist naturally nowhere else in the world but in St. Lucia. And in fact, as of last year, September last year, we had the recognition of 2 new bird species that were recognized scientifically as St. Lucia's own. And that was the St. Lucia thrasher and also the St. Lucia wren. Okay. Also, we have a very, very wide diversity as it relates to reptiles. We have 13 indigenous reptile species.
13?
And 13. And out of these reptiles, we have 7 that are also endemic to the island. Okay, our biggest reptile, the iguana, St. Lucia iguana, is our biggest reptile. Also, we have the St. Lucia boa, that is our biggest snake. But of course, we have the rarest snake in the world that you can find on Maria Major in Vieux-Fort. And so, St. Lucia has a wide array, a great diversity when it comes to our biodiversity, and it is something that we need to be extremely proud of. Even beetles. I mean, St. Lucia has a little over 700 indigenous beetles, like we have 793 species of indigenous beetles. And out of these, we have 154 that are found only in St. Lucia. And when it comes to plants, like seed-bearing plants, we have a little over 1,000 indigenous species. 10 of them are endemic to St. Lucia. And we also have ferns, like 138 different species of ferns. And so, as a small island developing country or as a small nation, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to wildlife. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to indigenous and endemic plant and animal species. And so it is a point of great national pride. And this is why, we need to help educate the public and help, raise awareness, help, teach our people how to learn to appreciate our biodiversity, our flora and our fauna, and how to use them in a responsible manner, how to use them in a sustainable way, so that, persons, coming after us, and even us now, who derive our livelihoods from them, we can continue doing so, and persons who come thereafter, can also enjoy that same benefit.
You mentioned about finance. How are you going to use finance to ensure that our species are well maintained in their locale?
Yes, so as I've said, financing is one of our biggest challenges. But of course, with finance, there is so much you could do when you have the requisite resources. And so, we could use our financing to help raise awareness, to have community meetings, to help sensitize persons who live within wildlife habitats, teach them, help them to understand the species better, help them learn how to coexist with those species. Also, the finance is necessary for us to undertake research and development. That is very important. For example, we can talk about the St. Lucia featherless, for example. The St. Lucia featherless is a species that is feared by all because it is venomous, and naturally persons are fearful of the animal. However, the venom possesses tremendous potential medical benefits. And these are benefits that we have not even explored scientifically as yet. And so if we were to have the finance, sufficiently, it would be able to help us to undertake all of these things, to educate our people, to help teach the young and so on. And also it will help us achieve our, sustainable development goals, because financing is crucial, and it underpins, the majority of the work that we do. Especially in local communities.
But I've been hearing of the furtherless, and of course the venom that has medicinal benefits, over the years. But
yes.
What have we done? I mean, heard that over and over, and look, you bring it up again.
Yes.
So where are we at with that?
Yes. So again, hence the reason, or hence the theme for World Wildlife Day, which is wildlife conservation finance. So, the CITES Secretariat, the United Nations General Assembly, also the Global Biodiversity Framework, they have all seen the need, to prioritize and to find innovative ways of financing wildlife projects and conservation projects. And so finance, as I've said, is one of our major limiting factors. And so this primary reason why we have not yet developed fully and understand the composition of our snake's venom is simply because of the lack of finance, and also the technical know-how to be able to do to undertake that kind of research and work with it. So right now, as we speak, we are looking into a project. It is based on access and benefit sharing project, and it is one where we are piloting the St. Lucia featherless as well as the St. Lucia incense, the Lassa. And so, as it stands, we have not done in-depth scientific work with our snake venom. We have just done some exploratory work with it. However, we do know that the venom of the St. Lucia featherless has a lot of potential benefits. For example, it has benefits that could lend itself to hypertension, congestive heart disease, and even certain types of cancers. And what we have realized is that among the 32 different species of Bothrops, or the Bothrop species, that is the featherless species that we have in Central America, South America. St. Lucia has one, Martinique has one. Among all of these species, we have realized that the St. Lucia viper, or the St. Lucia featherless, the venom of that snake has a peculiar characteristic, in that whereas all the others would help, would cause you to bleed out more or less. It'll not enable the blood to coagulate more or less, but ours does that. So our snake venom can help coagulate blood, and that could lend itself to to medical research, and persons, for example, who suffer with blood disorders such as hemophiliacs and so on. They tend to bleed out and their blood doesn't really clot. Then our snake venom has great potential in that area. And also the Bothrops species, it is used for hypertension medication and so on. And as I've mentioned, to help, in the treatment of other ailments. And so it is one, that we are looking at closely this year, because we have a project that we are starting. The project just started. As a matter of fact, we had the inception of that project today. And we were looking to zero in on the featherless as well as the Lassa.
Great. I'll come back to that again because that's very interesting. Anyway, we are due for our break. We're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned, don't go away.
From the farms to the fishing boats, our farmers and fishers are the lifeblood of St. Lucia. But to grow stronger, we need to know what we have. That's why this year we are calling on you. For the St. Lucia Census of Agriculture and Fisheries. Your information helps us understand our resources, plan better, and support our local heroes, our farmers and fishers. When the census officer visits, remember, accurate information means more support, better resources, and a brighter future for us all. Together, we can build a more resilient St. Lucia. Agricole ek pêche en nous quoti. Let's count and let's grow together. For more information, contact the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. Be counted. Be part of the change.
Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. Of course, with me, Mr. Pius Haynes, our Assistant Chief Forest Officer, and of course, we're talking about World Wildlife Day. I am very interested back to that venom from our venomous snake here. And I find if all the properties that you mentioned, the medicinal properties that it has, we have not taken that bold step to ensure that we have done more research and to have whatever extracts from that on sale, you know, to the public. So where are we? Is there a deadline? I heard you mention, okay, you'll have started off. But I've been hearing that over the years. So where are we now? Are you all serious?
Okay, so we are collaborating with a number of different agencies, institutes, to help bring this to reality, because you've been hearing it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We are collaborating with the Ministry of Health. We are also collaborating with there's an institute in Costa Rica that we are collaborating on as it relates to the research in the venom. These folks, they have the know-how, they have the human resource, you know, they have the methodology that lends itself, because right now we are getting our antivenom stock from Costa Rica. And I must say here that under the universal healthcare program, universal health coverage, snakebite has been recognized as one of the areas that will receive full cover, or full persons who you know, are treated for snake bites will be fully covered under the universal healthcare program.
Okay.
And that is a direction, and that is a step in the right direction. So these are initiatives that started just recently. And as I've said, we are collaborating with an institute in Costa Rica so that, you know, we can do some more work with our snake venom, and also Martinique as well.
Great. Okay. You all had this activity on the 3rd, right?
Yes.
What other activities other than this program that you were able to bring the public to commemorate that day?
Yeah, so on Monday, March 3rd was World Wildlife Day, and on that day, the Forestry Department, in collaboration with our conservation partners, we had the Census National Trust, we had Durrell Wildlife Conservation Trust, which is a UK charity for wildlife conservation. Also, we had Fauna and Flora with us. And so together we were able to host a very participatory exhibition. The public came out at Constitution Park on Monday. We had on display a number of our indigenous plant and animal species. So we had the St. Lucia iguana, we had the St. Lucia parrot, we also had the St. Lucia boa and the St. Lucia featherless. And we gave persons an opportunity to appreciate, you know, some of the wildlife that they encounter within our natural environment, within their landscape. Also, we had some plant species on display, but the main attraction was really towards the 2 snake species that we had on display. Persons, while they have an innate fear of snakes, and, you know, whilst they are typically afraid of the species, but then there's some level of intrigue, and, you know, they always curious and they always want to learn. So we were able to put these 2 species side by side, the St. Lucia boa, the tetche, and the St. Lucia featherless. And persons were able to appreciate, you know, the differences in the features of of the 2 species, because persons have kept on saying to us that they are unable to adequately and accurately distinguish between the St. Lucia featherless and the St. Lucia boa. So we were able to put them side by side, and persons were able to see what a featherless looks like and what a boa looks like. So persons who didn't know, you know. And then we had a lot of interest from the different schools, especially the schools that were within the Castries Basin. Members of the public, you know, we had, it was very intensive, very intensive, and persons, you know, asked a lot of questions, and, you know, they even asked for a repeat of it. And so we're contemplating doing this similar activity in the south in the near future, so at least we can bring, you know, our species to the Fifort area, and persons, you know, in the area, students, you know, residents and different persons, farmers, could have an appreciation of those species that we have within our landscape.
Perhaps one of the things I've always asked when you see we have recognized those days, and I'm wondering, is that once a year, or in terms of continuity? I'm not hearing us until the 3rd comes of March comes. I'm not hearing about World Wildlife Day. So I'm thinking here, you talk about education, you talk about benefits of our wildlife. So what's happening throughout the year?
Right, so I mean, the Forestry Department is the arm of government that is responsible for wildlife conservation, wildlife management under the St. Lucia Wildlife Protection Act. So this is the act that gives us our mandate, more or less, to manage wildlife on the island. So whereas we have those commemorative days, I mean, the United Nations General Assembly, they have proclaimed or dedicated one day, and it's one day among many days. I mean, there are so many days that are used to commemorate so many different activities. So given the importance of wildlife, it was placed on that day, on March 3rd, more or less to coincide with the Secretariat, CITES Secretariat. And so whilst we have one commemorative day for wildlife, we have one for forest, we have one for water, we have one for biodiversity, we have one for snakes and so on. We have one for Earth Day and so on. The Forestry Department is consistently, because this is part of our mandate, consistently every day we conserve, we help protect, we help manage wildlife all around the island. And so when persons don't see us, perhaps in the eye of the media, we are out there in the background, working in rural communities, working in wildlife habitats and so on. We do a lot of snake education in different communities. For example, we help present snake safety programs to hotels, to utility companies, different communities that are affected by snakes. Also, we have a lot of school visits, school programs. We visit the different schools, especially upon request. We go there. We even bring the very same animals that we have to some of the schools, and we help educate persons. We have also organized and revamped our whole zoo concept. So we have moved away from the zoo concept that we once had, and now we have a wildlife conservation education center. So the concept has changed, where we are focusing more on our indigenous and local species, and we are moving away from the small confinement enclosures to a more wider space, a space that allows the animals more freedom, a place that mimics more the natural environment. And so also we have gone into the conservation of the St. Lucia racer, because as you know, the St. Lucia racer is the rarest snake in the world, and the numbers are quite small on its source population, and the habitat itself is very contracted, very small. And so we have, in collaboration with our conservation partners, Fauna and Flora, as well as St. Lucia National Trust and Durrell Wildlife Conservation Trust, we have built a new facility at Union for our St. Lucia racer snakes, and that program is ongoing. And so the aim really is to help bring that snake back from the brink of extinction, help increase the numbers, because the St. Lucia racer used to be on the entire island of St. Lucia. But because of the introduction of the small Asian mongoose, when the mongooses came in, they ate out, they exterminated the racers. And thank God they were, preserved on Maria Major. And
there's no mongoose there?
No, Maria Major and all our offshore islands. We have 5 major offshore islands that we manage. We have Maria Major and Minor. We have Prale Island. We also have Denry Island, and we have Rat Island. These 5 major offshore islands are free of all invasive species, like of all mammalian invasive species like mongooses and rats and mice and these kind of things. So they are predator free, and so we have a number of bird species and reptiles that are able to thrive in these areas. As a matter of fact, Maria Major and Minor, and even all our offshore islands, they have become a haven for bird nesting. So during the nesting season, you have a lot of birds going there, both migratory as well as resident birds.
In terms of consumption of those species, human consumption, where are we with that? I know there's a moratorium.
Yes.
Is it on all species? All what you mentioned there,
yes,
you cannot be consumed.
Okay, so under the Wildlife Act, there has been this moratorium on the harvesting or the hunting of our species, and then this moratorium has not yet been lifted. However, persons can consume the kosher mao,
yes,
or the wild pigs. The wild pig is not listed as a wildlife under our Wildlife Act. These were just domesticated pigs that went astray.
Run away. Yeah.
Yes, so that could be consumed. The only thing is that persons would need a permit to enter our forest reserve to do the hunting. And talking about wild pigs, we are in collaboration with pig hunters, especially those in the Dennery Basin. They are very prolific at their hunting. And pig hunting has now become a rural, sustainable livelihood endeavor, as a matter of fact. So there is a great niche market for it. It is very lucrative. And so it is a win-win for us because we want the pigs out of our forest ecosystem because of all the damage that they create. And persons could use it as a means to sustain their
So that's the only one we can eat?
The other species, then we would have to get a permit in order for us to utilize any of our other species. Because
like what?
Forestry does have the mandate. If there are any species that we deem a problem and that needs to be managed, then forestry reserves that jurisdiction, that right.
Like what species? Say for example, the agouti.
Right. So right now it is illegal more or less to hunt agouti, manikou. All of these are under the full, all of these are referred to as fully protected. So we have the three schedules. We have the three schedules. We have the Schedule 1 where you have fully protected wildlife. You have Schedule 2 where you have partially protected wildlife, and you have Schedule 3 where you have unprotected wildlife. So we do not have a hunting program in St. Lucia for our protected wildlife. We do not have for our partially protected wildlife. Okay. The unprotected, we only have 4 species that are there. The featherless is still listed as unprotected wildlife, together with the mongooses, the rats, and the and mice.
Okay, great. Well, you come to the end of the program, but I want to take just 1 minute to make an announcement. Okay. I just want the banana farmers in St. Lucia to know that there will be a distribution of checks, right, to farmers on Friday the 7th at the IRDC in Dennery, Lakai. Okay, so be there for 3 o'clock, where we will have a little ceremony for the distribution of checks for farmers who were affected by the Black Sea Katoka. Don't forget, at the time there were the unavailability of oil to control that disease because of shipping issues, strikes at the docks in the States, etc., etc. But the oil is here now, and farmers can get the oil free of charge to spray on your farms as we speak. And I would like also to remind the exporters, to remind the farmers that they can go there on Friday to collect the checks. Mr. Octavian Charles, who is a farmer and exporter, he too can, of course, tell his farmers about that. Talking about Octavian Charles, he's a farmer and he's an exporter, and I see him, you know, declaring all his produce on Facebook, showing his success as a farmer, all his lemons and his mangoes, and of course his pigs. He slaughters a lot of pigs at Christmas time, and of course that is one of the best carcasses on island, with a very lean fat. So Mr. Charles is, of course, a really big farmer. But he has another cap. The other cap, he is the head of Invest St. Lucia. And of course, he assists farmer or agricultural projects in terms of landless farmers, allowing them to get land to farm, and of course, non-agricultural lands also. So I want to hail him. I want to say thanks to him for assisting a client of his to ensure that a project was realized, and also Mr. Labadi, he's one of his staff members who came, and I must say they are professional, and also the integrity is at a high level, right? And they are committed into what they do. So thank you again on behalf of that client for ensuring that this project has come to reality. Any final words, Mr. before I go? 2 seconds.
Yeah, I just would like to encourage our St. Lucians to let us love our wildlife, let us appreciate them more and more, because without them, we cannot exist. Thank you very much.
Pius, thank you for being here. You've been watching Agriculture on the Move. Thank you for viewing the program. And remember, agriculture is our business. Eat fresh. St. Lucia's best. I'm Philip Sidney. Goodbye.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agriculture Movement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agriculture Movement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Sends political divides, and these matters have consequences for us as a whole, as a body, and there are